YouTubers, Mike Martin's here, Mike Martin's channel. Happy Friday to everybody. It's Friday morning, and I'm having a tough time falling asleep. Doing some work here in the office, and kind of want to do kind of a semi-rant video, kind of get some information out there, right? Still a free country, right? So let's get some information out there, and I kind of wanted to talk about how we're keeping our interest rates artificially low. I think I've talked about this for years now, and it's been creating speculative bubbles after bubbles and more bubbles. And what's happened is it's snuffed the housing market into this bubble. And it got snuffed out by a lot of wealthy investors who basically came in and bought out our countries. It's happening in New Zealand, Australia, the United Kingdom, Canada, basically all the countries that are open for business. And then the real economy starts to shrink. Our jobs continuously get exported. GDP is in decline. Inflation is gripping our economies all over the Commonwealth. And all we have is right now is speculative bubbles, right? And the sad part is we still need liquidity in the system, and we have liquidity in the system if you could find it, but a majority of it is it's coming from fraud. Countries and banking systems, governances. It's just pure fraud, right? And there's a cure. It's putting a halt to everything. If there's no liquidity in the system, then everything comes to a screeching halt. You know, when you're on a train or you're watching a movie with people on a train, the guy pulls that cord and it comes to a screeching halt. Well, that's what happens when there's no liquidity in the system. And the banksters and all the people, the people of power or people of choice, or the people we voted in or whoever, they're not gonna let that happen, right? So, and it's because of the corruption, lots of corruption we're seeing, and it gets funneled in to our day-to-day lives, whether we see it in first time home buyer loans, because the middle class can't get into the housing market. They gotta prop a way to get first-time home buyers into a market they can't afford to get into already. So when you're living in a country, you were born and raised in, and your parents invested into the infrastructure, and you can't afford to buy in your own city, we got a problem. And what do? First-time home buyer loans. What was that other one? Interest-only mortgages. And regulators are just creating their own rule books, right? Hold on, I have an annoying thing here popping up, and I just want to close it. Sorry, it's just distracting me. Something pop up on the internet. They're trying to sell me something, of course, right? So remember what happened with the Royal Commission, right? I wish the Royal Commission dug deeper. Royal Commission is like, I guess, forensic auditors, I guess, that were put in to check the books of the banks in Australia, and a lot of books were cooked, a lot of pay to play, they found all kinds of corruption. And a couple of Canadian banks too. They didn't have a Royal Commission in Canada, but they were looking and auditing some of their books and stuff. A lot of junk on the books, lots of, you know what happened here. You know what I'm talking about. Phony pay stubs, phony, employers trying to get their total debt service ratios to fit and all that crap, right? And then what's happened is the desperation, right? Because it's created a massive gap of income, right? Banks are continuously paying themselves bonuses, right? We're seeing right now price fixing. We're in a massive we're in currency wars, trade wars. Now the super committees, we're the super committees. They are looking at creating negative interest rates in your bank accounts and to confiscate the middle class's money and to protect our great god, the bank, right? And it's scary. especially going into negative interest rates. It's creating toxic effects in the middle class, in my opinion. It has it's a debt it's debt devastation is what it is. We're not creating wealth anymore. We're just accumulating more and more debt. We're not building anymore wealth. We're not leaving something down the line for our children or grandkids. That's what's happening, right? And it's crippling the middle class. This debt devastation that we're going through right now, and that's why you're seeing all this massive homelessness, rampant homelessness out of control. I read an article the other day on trends in the housing market with 10,000 people homeless in Ireland, and 3,600 of them are children. Look what's happening in Los Angeles, California. Look what's happening in Seattle. Look what's happening in Vancouver. Look what's happening in Sydney. They set up a tent city in Sydney last year in a mall parking lot in Sydney, Australia. You know what I'm saying? And it's this debt levels is rampant and out of control, right? And we've been de-industrialized. You guys know this. We've been fix myself here so I look presentable. We've been de-industrialized, and this has left millions of people in an unproductive capacity, my friends. And how much more do our banks need to deleverage? Right? And deleveraging at the risk of who? Us, the taxpayers. The more they deleverage, the more risk they put out, and the more they could gamble, right? In the markets, right? And one thing that's always kind of thrown me for a loophole is how come we have so many people in power that are financially incompetent? Our countries can't even manage their own sovereign debt. It's the deflationary spiral is unabated, so to say. Let me, guys. I have to turn off this. I got a window open here. Hold on. It's my Skype, and people keep messaging me. It's popping stuff up. I'm sorry. And global markets. And we know what's happening here, right? It's changing global markets. I think we're at peak level debt, and it's turning gold and crypto. I have to say crypto. Sorry, I have to throw that in there. It's making it into money. Gold is now becoming more and more. It's trending towards becoming more money. You know what I'm saying? And I see we're being crushed indebtedly. Okay? And hold on a second. And I think we are entering a feudal skyscraper age. I know it sounds crazy. A feudal skyscraper age. The riches and the money, it's all somewhere. It's there. But we're entering the feudal age, and we can't mount anything. We don't have the finances or anything to mount a defense against what's happening. It's this wave that's spiraling out of control. And we need to find ways, like in conclusion, let's talk about a positiveness. We need to find ways to create more output. Okay? That's what it is. We got so many millions of people that are just not they're not creating, they're not producing, they're just idle. They're just sitting around hoping that they get a check in the mail or something. You know what I'm saying? We need to increase our economic activity, okay? And the only way this would work is eventually if banks go to zero or zero worth. And I know I don't want to say this, but if banks become more nationalized, bonds would be wiped, and you see real businesses start get funding. And a lot of people have this misconception that rising prices, it doesn't mean a rising economy, and that's the misconception that we have nowadays, right? And I think we're in I honestly think in peak our peak um we're at peak debt level. There's just no more. I don't think we could take on anymore unless the kids, our grandkids, grow up and then they start taking out more debt and add to the family debt bond. You know what I'm saying? But because we are at peak credit levels, I think we're going to become like zombie capitalism, like Japan. Um, and then you start seeing more of the private sector deleveraging, and that reduces the ability to consume, and that's a problem. And it's a balance, and then it goes. It's a balance below the baseline. It doesn't work, right? Zombie economies, man. I remember talking about that in 2012, 2011. But I don't know, guys. I just got a little few tidbits on my mind, and I don't know. I don't know why things are going the way they are. I do know. I mean, I understand. We're talking about it, but I don't know why it's being allowed to happen, and why we are abolishing, I guess, acts or policies that were put in place to protect, sorry, to regulate the institution in order that the consumer, citizen, middle class, or Joe Donuts are protected from mistakes made in the financial sectors. I don't know what I'm talking about, guys. I'm just talking about everything. We are in the feudal skyscraper age, guys. The wealth is there, it exists, but we're unable to access. And yeah, I think we're at peak debt, peak debt consumption right now, with the elderly people, old people, going into retirement with full blown mortgages and HELOCs and second mortgages because they bought into this whole debt thing that they could reverse their mortgage. Hey, I'll be dead by 70. I'm going to enjoy this free time and play golf. Well, they came back from playing golf and fishing, and guess what? They they're still alive. And how they going to financially survive the next 5 or 10 years if they, you see what I'm saying? So guys, don't get fooled. Rising prices don't mean a rising economy. Okay? Um just be smart, guys. Be smart with your spending. Be smart with your investing. Be smart with your futures, guys. Because right now, the banking system, the deregulation of everything that's happened, being us pulled off the gold standard in 1971, when we were pulled off the gold standard, we were purposely pulled off the gold standard because America wanted to go to war, and the only way to go to war is to be pulled off the gold. There's no way America could afford to go to war with the dollar backed by gold, right? And you saw the death of the one income family. Once we were pulled off the gold standard, slowly and surely, up into the mid 80s and then into the late 80s, you started seeing the death of the one income family, where dad used to work and pay for everyone's college tuition and pay for the two cars and buy the groceries, and mom would take care of everything at home. Once we got off the gold standard, you saw the death of the single family earner, the one income earner in the house that took care of vacations and everything. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to put this out there. I don't know. I just have big troubles falling asleep. So, let me know. What do you guys think of my Tropico shirt? Comment below. Let me know. Thanks for watching, guys.